Alex, thank you so much for joining us today. And to kick us off, do you mind giving a brief intro of who you are and how you use interactive demos at Slope?
Absolutely. So thank you very much, Natalie. I'm Alex Yant. I'm our site development lead over at Slope. Just a really brief background on what Slope is. We are a clinical trial execution platform for research sites. So when they need kits, when they need to know where their kits are, where their samples are, we're kind of that air traffic control or GPS system that gets everything to where it should be and helps everybody communicate so that we reduce waste and improve understanding and visibility. We've been using Novatic for quite a bit. We were kind of exploring how to share our software, be able to communicate exactly what we do, because what we do is pretty novel within the space. There's not a lot of direct competitors that we have, and so to find a way to be able to tell those stories, have a very tailored demo experience, but also to communicate that clearly and then set up, for that next deeper dive demo and our contracting process. We found Novatic to be a very helpful tool to kind of, again, share that story and also have consistency when multiple people on our side are sharing it using those same flows. So it's been very helpful for us.
To dive into it a little more, do you mind? I know we are talking a little before this about how you're using it in your sales process, both on sales
Mhm.
calls and then like almost a sales follow up. Do you mind going into a little more how you use Novatic in the sales process?
Absolutely. So, what we did is we started by creating just kind of some one-off flows about, in terms of our inventory management side, how do we diverge from the status quo of spreadsheets to be tracking kits, and how do we make this, more relatively simple process, give more value in terms of accountability, et cetera. And we created a series of captures that highlights all those main features without, again, running the risk of going into a demo environment and realizing that our tech team was working on it. And so it actually wasn't, we were, might be getting 500 errors or something like this. Whereas we could rely on Novatic in order to know exactly what was to be expected on that next screen. And then, of course, feel confident as we are giving kind of that live performance that the screenshots were going to line up with our script that we were giving, and that it really looked like a professional, it just had a very professional feel to it. And so, we use it in our sales process, and we kind of were looking into various ways in order to further optimize and standardize. So one thing that one of our team members created was something we call our demo toolbox. And essentially, we pull that up for every call, and we use the little like table of contents feature, the navigator at the bottom, and have about, I think we're up to 7 or 8, I think, different flows right now. But depending on the persona, depending on what they want to see, what part of the process are they, are they a sponsor and they want to see all the cool benefits they'll get from a contracting flow? Or are they just a research site and they want to see, how this can be better than a lot of the other technology that they use? We can say, yes, this is the question that you're asking. We're going to kind of surreptitiously pull up that flow, make it seem lifelike and realistic, but also, again, be able to tell a very focused story through that. So just the idea of having, one toolbox and one flow to go to, but also something I was talking to you earlier about, that personalization feature is something we absolutely love as well. Being able to find variables, as soon as somebody comes up to us from, research site A, we can plug in research site A. And so, they see their name up in lights on the page, and their name, their title, their site. And so it gives it, a much more, not only personalized, but kind of a warmer, more comforting experience. And I think they connect with the product a bit more easily because of that feature. So a lot of ways in which we really enjoy using Slope that way.
That's incredible. I love that you're both personalizing it on the use case front. So you have the checklist with a few different use cases that the sales rep can say, okay, I know that this is going to resonate with this persona. I'll start here. And then going a step further and personalizing using variables. So it's not only just personalized by use case, but actually says their name, company. Imagine that creates really like a little bit of a wow moment for your prospects.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just, generic site A is, I mean, when I'm saying these examples, of course, like, it's, Jane from site A is going to be coming in here, but it's not their real site name is going to be shown up on the screen. And so, it looks like we've, if I'm being totally frank, it looks like we've probably done a lot more, digging and work on our end when really it was me because you made that field readily available. Me changing one name on that personalization aspect before pulling up the new and personalized flow.
And to go a little more in the weeds, would love to hear about how you go about building these, especially trigger-based demos. And then we
Mhm.
talked a little bit before the call how you're also going through the process of updating them right now. So I'd love to hear your process for
Mhm.
updating when there's new UI or new features.
So I think initially it's all about, and I know you've got a lot of really good storyboarding, not only resources on the website, but also a template. And I think that was a good starting point. Of course, we're very excited about our product. And so I want to tell you absolutely everything that there is to know about it. But we want to, again, make that story very short and to the point. So when we're talking about when building demos, it's selling that sizzle, not the steak. Making sure that you know exactly what, that's one of my boss's favorite things to say, and now it's like stuck in my head. That's a great phrase. Rather than is the point to be doing a training, or is the point just to be doing a capabilities presentation of what can we do, what are the possibilities that are available to you as a potential buyer or user, if you want to explore a relationship with our company. For that former case of just kind of the capabilities thing, we want to highlight in a logical format what we can do, where it lives, and why they should care. And I think usually it's kind of like building a music album. You make all these songs, they sound great, they kind of flow well in a album, but we know that albums aren't usually 35 songs; they're 12 because it's a little bit too much. So we find kind of those greatest hits and we tailor it down to something that's a bit more refined and keeps that user's attention, while also, again, by the end of our slide, they know what they saw, they're able to process why they should care, and then have good follow-up questions afterwards about, oh, I can see us using your software for X and Y purposes.
Love that album analogy. I've heard on this series before, it's like a movie. You have to think about every single, screen in comparison to the entire film. But I think
Mhm.
especially the idea of like, okay, you have to choose your 12 best hits and how they flow nicely together is such a perfect way to think about choosing the most important parts of your product to show on these demos. Curious, you've already given a lot of great tips, but let's say you had someone new on the team who was trying to use Novatic for the first time. What is maybe one or two tips that you'd give a Novatic newbie?
Think of it almost kind of like our art analogies, like you were talking about before. Everybody's had experiences wanting to make an album, make a movie, make a photo, presentation, something like this. So it's almost like let that kind of inner art student come free. What kind of story do you want to tell? Get excited about that creative portion of it, and then know that it's pretty easy because with just a couple of clicks, especially when you have access to your product and know it pretty well, to take that artistic vision and bring it to life. So I'd say start less on the technical side of things. That's easy enough to learn, and maybe after you've had the satisfaction of doing again that creative exercise, it will kind of cushion the blow of needing to learn a new technology.
I love that. Sounds much more fun to create a story, an album, just an artistic piece than necessarily like a just a demo of the product. So I'm gonna start repositioning Novatic as little mini stories or art pieces. Last question for me today. Just curious if
Yeah.
you have any like feedback or qualitative or quantitative results that you've heard from the team about using interactive demos.
We have one really small flow that we actually do send out asynchronously, but a lot of them we are actively going through with those invisible triggers and making it as realistic as possible, making it seem like, again, we are going step by step through our platform. And every time that we go through that Nevada demo, we've had questions from our clinical operations team like, oh, can we use this for training? We thought that was such like a streamlined experience, and to be able to kind of give that hands-on approach rather than training folks through spreadsheets and Word documents, which of course aren't engaging. Wouldn't it be great if we could kind of do something similar? Take screenshots of our platform, have them click on the correct buttons, and kind of do some training there. So we've explored various use cases after other teams within our company have noticed the success of Slope for our sales process. And then just the folks with whom we work, whenever we do that demo, and I always love to see kind of the smile on their face. Sometimes, I'm talking to a lab director, and I like to throw in a little joke at the beginning, like, "Oh, James, I'm so sorry you've been demoted to a coordinator today," because Their name is usually in the top left-hand corner, and I put a personalization variable up there. So it's always a fun way for them to know, again, they're getting special treatment, that their name and company is being displayed on the screen right now. And just a way to kind of relax any tensions and make it seem like a rigid sales experience and more of just kind of a fun conversation, a getting to know you exercise, just the way that the Nomatic is set up. So I've gotten a lot of good feedback, and I think, again, it kind of brings more of a fun atmosphere to that discovery process, rather than something kind of rigid and boring.
Yeah, that's so smart. I think personalization, to your point, really just makes it feel like, okay, this is for you. I put some thought into this, and like this isn't just going to be me,
Hmm.
feature dumping on you. This is going to make sure it's valuable for both of us. And I love how you sort of address it off the bat with sort of a little like humor there. This was some great feedback, advice. Love to hear you all
Yeah.
using it. And thank you so much for joining us today, Alex.
Thank you so much, Natalie. It's been a pleasure.